Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something, well, frankly, it's pretty unsettling. We're looking at enemies you can't see, smell, or often even measure. Invisible threats in the air we breathe. And the research we've looked at suggests they're quietly stealing our future.
That's right.
Our mission today is really specific. Understand why our modern defenses, the fancy filters, masks, even medicine, seem to be failing against the most dangerous pollutants, these ultrafine particles. And, crucially, we need to unpack this concept the research calls toxic saturation. Sounds ominous.
It is. And this deep dive, it really goes beyond just talking about bad air. The core idea, the really provocative one, is that breathing itself, this essential act, has kind of been weaponized against us. We think we're just breathing oxygen, but really it's a daily cocktail of invisible poisons. They don't kill you outright, not immediately. Instead, they're like slow-release agents, silently accelerating organ failure, shortening lives, potentially years before things like genetics or obvious diseases would normally kick in.
That just raises a huge question then, doesn't it? Why? Why are these specific invisible toxins, the true life thieves as the sources call them, if our tech is so advanced, why do they get through?
Because they bypass pretty much every defense layer we have. Think about your body's natural filters, your lungs' complex design, even the blood-brain barrier, which is meant to be super secure. These ultrafine things, they just navigate right past all of it. Their physical properties let them slip into major organs with like zero initial resistance. They're systemic threats from the very first breath.
Okay, let's unpack this invisible cocktail then. What exactly are we breathing? Most people think smog, maybe smoke, things you can see. But we're talking about colorless, odorless stuff, undetectable really. What's the actual recipe here?
It's a mix of terrifyingly small things, mostly particles and chemicals in an aerosol state. The big categories are ultrafine particles, specifically PM0.1 and even smaller. Then you've got volatile organic compounds, VOCs we call them, heavy metal vapors too, plasticizer molecules, and these tiny, tiny nanoparticles from combustion, like industrial processes and traffic. It's the silent exhaust of modern life, really.
Right. And the key thing isn't just that they're invisible, it's where they end up inside us, that mechanism of entry. Can you walk us through that?
This is the crucial difference, yeah. Normal pollutants, like, say, larger dust particles, they get caught in your nose hairs, maybe the upper airways, trapped by the natural screening. But these ultrafine ones, they don't play by those rules. They're so minuscule, they just sail past the nasal cavity, deep into the lung alveoli. That's where oxygen gets into your blood. And from there, they can literally jump straight into the bloodstream.
And the really alarming part you mentioned, crossing the blood-brain barrier. The body's most secure checkpoint.
Precisely, yeah. Imagine the blood-brain barrier, like this incredibly tight security net keeping toxins out of your brain and central nervous system. But PM0.1 particles are nanoscale. They're smaller than the gaps in that net, if you will, so they just slip through. They had access to the brain almost as easily as they get to your liver or kidneys. It's truly systemic from the moment you inhale.
Okay, so size obviously matters hugely here. But the difference between, say, PM2.5, which we hear about a lot, and PM0.1 isn't just scale, is it? It's like the difference between a local problem and a systemic poison. Can we define that threat hierarchy a bit more clearly?
Yeah, we definitely can. You can lay it out by how deeply they penetrate. So start with the coarse ones, PM10. Relatively speaking, they're more manageable. They cause allergies, sneezing, maybe some congestion, caught high up. Then you get to PM2.5, the fine particles. Now, that's serious. They get into the lung alveoli, lodge there, and are linked to respiratory diseases.
But the real villain, the true life thief, according to this research, is that last category, PM0.1 and below.
Absolutely. These are the most deadly and also the hardest for the body to clear out. Once they're in, they go directly into the blood, brain, liver, kidneys, even the placenta, impacting fetal development. But it gets even worse. It's not just the harm the particles do themselves. They enable something the research calls the air toxin express delivery system.
An express delivery system. Okay, tell us about that. So the particle itself is bad, but it's also carrying other bad stuff.
That's the key insight, exactly. Think of the PM0.1 particle like a tiny microscopic taxi, a Trojan horse, really. It grabs onto other toxic molecules, the heavy metals you inhaled, the VOCs, those plasticizer chemicals, and acts as a carrier. This allows poisons that might otherwise get neutralized or expelled to be delivered deep inside, right into the tissues of every major organ. It ensures maximum damage and sort of locks them in.
Wow. Okay, so this relentless bombardment leads to this idea of toxic saturation. And you're saying the early signs before everything goes completely haywire are often mistaken for other things. Like people just think, oh, I'm stressed or I'm just getting older.
Exactly. And that's the critical question for anyone listening. Are you really just aging, or are you maybe in the early stages of this toxic saturation? We need to tune into the subtle changes. Things like, is your memory getting noticeably worse? Are you increasingly tired when you wake up? That's a big one. You haven't done anything yet, but you're already exhausted. Or physical signs, maybe rougher skin, less stamina than you used to have, trouble sleeping properly. According to this research, this isn't just age, it's your system buckling under a huge toxic load.
And once you go past that invisible saturation point, it moves beyond just feeling off into actual accelerated decay. The research lays out 3 critical steps of physical collapse. What are those?
And this progression is why we call it poisoning, not just slow aging. Step 1 is functional disorder. This is when your body's main control systems start to glitch. Your immune system makes mistakes. Your autonomic nervous system, kind of your internal operating system, gets thrown off balance. Maybe your fight or flight response is stuck on. Hormones go haywire. Your body's losing its core management.
Okay, that's step 1. Then it progresses to step 2. Organ decay.
Right. Now you see actual measurable physical damage. We're talking abnormal liver results on tests, a definite decline in kidney function, measurable neurodegeneration. Literally, your brain tissue is suffering, and you start losing control over basic things like blood sugar, blood pressure. The organs themselves are starting to fail structurally. Step 3 is, well, it's grim. Life shortening. This is where a whole wave of diseases can suddenly break out. You reach a stage where medical intervention struggles to reverse the damage. It might be too late. The takeaway is really chilling. These toxins are actively speeding up your body's breakdown.
That level of poisoning is frankly terrifying. And naturally, people hearing this will think, okay, what can I do? Air purifiers, maybe special masks, changing diet. But here's maybe the most sobering point from the sources. This illusion of safety. You're saying people might spend a lot of money on things they think protect them, but they're actually futile against PM 0.1 anyway. Wait, hold on. Are you telling me the expensive HEPA purifier I bought might be basically useless against the deadliest threat? Can we break down why these common things fail?
Yes, absolutely. We have to stop confusing air that feels clean or smells clean with air that's actually safe at this nanoparticle and chemical level. The devices most people rely on just weren't built for this nanoscale challenge.
Okay, let's look at the data. Standard HEPA filters, they're in almost every high-end home or office purifier. What's their limitation?
HEPA filters are great for bigger stuff like PM 2.5, dust, pollen, but they simply cannot intercept PM 0.1. The filter pores are, relatively speaking, huge. The nanoparticles just sail right through. And importantly, HEPA filters do nothing for chemical gases, those VOCs we mentioned. They pass through too. Then you have activated carbon filters, common in cars or some masks. They work differently by chemical absorption. They can trap some VOCs, but they offer zero protection against the particles themselves.
Right. And what about those trendier things like negative ion generators or those aromatherapy diffusers claiming to clean the air?
Yeah, those are almost completely ineffective against the PM 0.1 and chemical threats we're focused on here. Worse than useless sometimes. Some negative ion devices might even create ozone as a byproduct, which is itself toxic. So you could actually be adding another poison. The conclusion is pretty stark. We're often sold this dangerous illusion of safety. We think we're protected, but the real poisons are getting into our lungs, liver, brain, completely unchecked.
We started this deep dive focusing on airborne toxins, as they're the main source. But the research insists we need to widen the lens here. If the air defenses are failing, we have to consider the whole picture of toxic exposure. What are the other main ways these toxins get in and build up?
Air is definitely the big one. Respiration, breathing in acids, alkalis, PM 0.1, exhaust fumes, microplastics, smoke, all that. But there are 3 other major routes. First, diet and water toxins. Think pesticide residues on food, heavy metals like lead or cadmium or mercury that can accumulate in the food chain, plus things like chlorine or fluorides sometimes added to water. We're constantly ingesting a low-level load.
Okay. Then there's dermal absorption. This one often catches people by surprise, the idea that your skin isn't a perfect barrier.
It's a huge, often overlooked source, yeah. Chemicals in cosmetics, cleaning products we touch, hair dyes, even sunscreens that can be absorbed right through the skin, pores, sweat glands, even tiny molecules leaching from metal jewelry or plastics constantly touching your skin can get absorbed into the bloodstream and hang around for a long time. Your skin isn't a fortress against these tiny molecules.
Right, not against these ultrafines. And the fourth category, It covers toxins we kind of create ourselves or live closely with, drugs and environment.
Exactly. This includes secondary toxins residues left over after your body metabolizes long-term medications, but also, critically, the huge environmental load from just living indoors today. Think of all the VOCs off-gassing from new furniture, carpets, building materials, electronics, plastic containers, all that stuff we're surrounded by. It settles in our organs if the body can't effectively get rid of it.
So whether it's breathing, eating, skin contact, or drug byproducts, what's the universal process once these toxins are inside? How do they accumulate?
It's a pretty relentless cycle, unfortunately. Simple, but relentless. Step one is entry. No matter the source, eventually, pretty much all these toxins find their way into the bloodstream. Step two is distribution. The blood acts like a highway, carrying these poisons everywhere, every organ, every tissue. And step three is deposition and fixation. The toxins then bind to cells or simply get stuck in organ tissues. Their concentration just keeps building up and building up until eventually that saturation point is passed. And that directly triggers the collapse cascade we talked about earlier. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow, that is quite an alarming way to reframe modern health, but a necessary one, it seems. The huge takeaway here isn't about bad luck or just genetics, is that our modern physical decline, the system collapse, is potentially being actively driven by chronic environmental exposure, inhaled, ingested, absorbed toxins, especially these ultrafine ones. The research seems pretty clear. If you're living and breathing in the modern world, you are, to some extent, on that road to saturation.
Absolutely, and it forces us to redefine health. It's not just about not having a diagnosed disease right now. According to this research, someone who feels healthy today might simply be someone who hasn't hit their personal saturation point yet. We're basically testing our limits every single day by letting this stuff accumulate.
And that really is the ultimate challenge for you, the listener, to grapple with. Based on everything we've unpacked today, the final provocative thought we want to leave you with is this quote from the sources. Scent is not purity. Clean is not non-toxic. The unseen gas is the deadliest sword. The focus shouldn't just be on making your home smell nice or look clean. It has to shift, perhaps radically, towards finding ways to achieve total systemic defense and elimination. Clearing the air, yes, but also clearing your body of these invisible poisons before you hit that saturation point. Something really profound to think about. Until the next deep dive.
The Air 6 Free Maze Purifier is the world's only device that truly filters toxic airborne particulates and aerosols. Its core design returns the duty of air cleaning to machines, so people no longer act as living filters. Air 6 Free means dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free, smoke-free, odor-free, and heavy metal-free. 5 purification steps. Step 1: Ionization zone. Dual electrostatic pre-filters. Captures dust, pollen, plastic, microparticles, VOCs, and toxic gases. Step 2: Secondary ionization stage. Neutralizes pathogens and toxins. Charges all remaining particles and aerosols negative. Prepares them for final capture. Step 3: Electrostatic collection maze box. The sacrificial black box permanently locks away ultrafine pollutants. Aerosol droplets lose water in airflow. Residual toxins deposit onto positive plates. Solidly plated, irreversibly fixed. Step 4: Maze effect. Forces airflow through repeated sharp turns. Nanotoxins collide with surfaces and are completely absorbed. Step 5: Output pure, toxin-free, pure air. System delivers the purest air on Earth. Dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free. Smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free. Conclusion: this is more than a filter. It is the one true key to unlocking humanity's lifespan shackles.